First things first, I just want to say a few things, because although this moment is maybe not the biggest deal in the world to everybody else, to me, it is.
As Taylor Swift said, shake it off.
Kayla Nicole is talking about Travis Kelce again, and the timing has the internet buzzing. Before diving into exactly what she said, one thing needs to be understood clearly. This is her own personal account of a relationship that ended long before Travis ever met Taylor Swift, her side of a breakup that has clearly stayed painful for her, and none of the specific claims involved have ever been independently confirmed. And why it has taken over conversations right in the middle of the biggest wedding season, football or otherwise, in recent memory. Kayla has described the end of her relationship with Travis as something that left deep scars. She has claimed there was infidelity during their time together, and she has spoken about feeling as though she sacrificed a great deal for him.
Why did your last relationship not work?
Right person, wrong time.
Those two sentences alone are why this clip has spread the way it has. They are sharp, they are emotional, and they land differently depending entirely on who is listening. And the reaction has been exactly as divided as you would expect. Some people have pushed back hard, arguing that a person does not get to claim credit for who their ex becomes years after the relationship is over, pointing out that growth is not something one partner can take ownership of after the fact. So here's everything else swirling around the newlyweds right now, because this resurfaced story is only one thread in a much bigger tapestry. Start with something considerably happier, because just days after the wedding, Travis could not resist letting a little secret slip on his own podcast. On the New Heights season finale, recorded before the wedding, but released after it, Travis looked back at the moment his whole life changed. He reflected on the season opener, the episode where Taylor herself appeared as a guest to introduce her new album, and admitted something fans had long suspected.
During that recording, the entire time I'm planning, I'm going to ask this woman to marry me after this. So, yeah, those were probably two other, really cool moments of this season. Yeah. Obviously, the beginning of it with Taylor is one I'll remember forever, so.
Starting the season with Taylor, he said, was pretty epic, and then he confessed that during that entire recording, while the microphones were rolling and fans listened in, he was quietly planning to ask this woman to marry him the moment it ended. He called it one of the coolest moments of the whole season, right alongside a memorable episode with Tom Brady, and he admitted it is a recording he will remember forever. It confirmed a theory fans had pieced together from the engagement photos themselves, where a faint imprint of headphones was still visible in Taylor's hair, suggesting the proposal happened almost immediately after they stopped recording. Travis simply could not keep that secret in any longer. The happiness of being newly married made it impossible not to share.
Ending the season with Tom Brady, pretty epic. Yes. Starting it with Taylor, pretty epic.
And that same secrecy that surrounded the proposal has carried straight through to how the wedding itself is being preserved. Because rather than releasing footage of the ceremony publicly, Taylor and Travis are said to be working on their own documentary, one covering not just the wedding day, but the months of planning and behind-the-scenes work that went into it. Instead of putting it out for the world to see, the plan is for that documentary to be gifted personally to the guests who were actually there. A private keepsake rather than a public release. That single decision explains so much of what made this wedding feel like a fortress. The custom invitations, each one watermarked so any leak could be traced back to its exact recipient, and the strict no phones policy enforced at the door for every single guest. All of it protected the idea that if the world was ever going to see real footage from inside that ceremony, it would be the couple's own footage, shared entirely on their own terms and their own timeline. Even confirmed guests were kept guessing right up until the end. George and Claire Kittle admitted they did not actually know where the wedding would be held, even after RSVPing yes. Claire said flatly that they simply did not know, while George added that he had asked Travis about it the night before and was met with nothing but laughter, joking that he half expected to be told there would be a plane waiting to fly them somewhere else entirely. That is the level of control this couple maintained over their own story, keeping even their closest friends in suspense until the final hours. Of course, not everything about the reception went off without a hitch. Because even the wedding of the century apparently was not immune to a classic reception hiccup. Guests found themselves standing in long buffet lines once food service began, and some ended up eating standing up simply because there were not enough seats available. A few attendees were even heard describing parts of the spread as tacky, a word nobody expected applied to an event this extravagant, and there were whispers of a champagne shortage at points throughout the night. It is almost funny to picture, honestly. A wedding with a garden built inside one of the most famous arenas in the world, legendary musicians performing custom couture on the bride and groom, and still, somehow, buffet lines became one of the most talked about details afterward. It is a small reminder that even with unlimited resources, catering for 1,000 people is genuinely difficult, and a few cracks were always going to show through the polish. And speaking of food, there was a much more charming culinary detail that emerged alongside the buffet complaints, because in the middle of all the elegant catering and high-end menus, the couple reportedly spent a notable sum on something delightfully simple: pizza. It is the kind of detail that feels almost rebellious against the backdrop of a black-tie, 1,000-guest, celebrity-filled affair, a reminder that beneath all the grandeur, this is still a couple who likes the same comfort food as everyone else. Picture it: music icons and Hollywood royalty in couture, standing around at one of the most exclusive weddings in modern memory, grabbing a slice of pizza between courses. It is a small human touch that somehow makes the entire night feel more relatable, proof that even inside a wedding this massive, there was still room for something as simple and joyful as good pizza shared among friends. So here is the bottom line: Travis admitting on his own podcast that he spent an entire recording secretly planning his proposal to Taylor, a confession that confirmed long-held fan theories about the timing of the engagement. Underneath both stories sits the couple's broader approach to privacy, including a planned wedding documentary meant only for guests, watermarked invitations, and a strict no-phones policy that kept even confirmed attendees guessing about the venue until the very end. And amid all the polish, guests still dealt with long buffet lines and a few food complaints, while the couple reportedly kept things grounded with a surprisingly large pizza order. And by every account from the people who were actually in that room watching him marry Taylor Swift, laughing through buffet lines, dancing under a garden built just for them, that joy was very real, and it was written all over his face. His own family has spoken warmly about how different, how settled, and how genuinely content he has seemed since Taylor came into his life, the kind of happiness that friends and relatives say they can see in the smallest, most ordinary moments, not just on a wedding day surrounded by cameras and celebrity guests. That is the version of Travis Kelce that the world just watched get married. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.